and welcome to another episode of Hands-On with Fujifilm GFX ETERNA 55. If you are working on a large cinema production or a big expensive television commercial, you might find GFX ETERNA 55 outfitted similar to this, in full cinema rig with all the attachments and accessories. But what if you're a small independent crew? Let's see what the options are. You could try something simple like this. So here, GFX ETERNA 55 is basically stripped down to virtually nothing. The lens on the front is one of our many GF optics. This happens to be a 50 millimeter 3.5, and you can see it's a little pancake design. Incredible for light, fast, on-the-go action. You could also use any of our many zooms that we have. These are manually operated, unlike the 3290 power zoom. These are smaller and more compact. And then, of course, we have other primes. But basically, on a large cinema production, you would probably have second sound, a special sound operator that's recording with professional microphones and using headphones and field recording devices. But you could put an XLR adapter from Tascam right here on the top of the handle on the camera. So all of that connectivity with this Tascam adapter goes through the hot shoe that's built into the top handle and then is carried through this cable into the camera itself. So you can get two XLR inputs, so you can get balanced 4-channel sound recorded into the camera. Our 5-inch LCD that comes with the camera, I've said before, it's up to 2000 nits brightness. This is really all you need to see your picture, and you can mount that anywhere you want here on the top handle or on any of the other mounting points. And again, all you need is one simple V-mount battery. You don't need a lot of extra accessories. Again, this is for people that are on productions, say maybe a corporate event, or you're doing a short film on a weekend or even just one day. And we're talking about an operator, a cinematographer, and we're talking maybe a sound person and a producer and a director, and that's about it. So you don't have a lot of extra help. Also, your post-production is probably going to be very quick, and you may not have time, and you may have limited computer capacity. So a couple of things I'm going to suggest are going to be, first, going into the menu, and in the project setting, go into the media rec setting option and choose the MOV format. Okay, the MOV format instead of MXF is more easily read by most smaller editing programs. But also, I'm going to suggest going into media rec setting, and where professional productions will always use the ProRes options as a minimum. Okay, they might actually also use the raw recording options. Instead, I'm going to suggest considering the H.265, either the all-intra or the long GOP. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that the ProRes and the raw options have huge, very, very large data rates. So they fill up your storage cards, and they're going to fill up your hard drives very, very quickly. Yes, they are the best quality. Yes, they're going to give you the minimum amount of artifacting, if any at all. However, the compression in H.265 is perfectly suitable if you don't have a lot of action. And in most narrative films, it's basically 2 actors or 3 actors in a room talking to each other. And for that, the H.265 is perfectly adequate. The only time you might get in trouble again for some of that is if you are doing, say, a car chase scene or somebody that's running through a crowded street and you have a lot of things in the background. Well, the compression on H.265 could give you artifacting in some of those areas. But I strongly suggest you give it a try. The other thing to consider, instead of recording in one of the log tone curves, which are going to require you to go in post-production and have to spend time color grading. Instead, consider recording in one of our internal film simulations. So we have in the camera a multitude of film simulations that have been designed by our engineers over the past several years. And these are extremely popular with still photographers that are using Fujifilm GFX and X series cameras. And these film simulations do give you what's called a baked-in look. So it's not possible to do a lot of color correction on them. You can do some, but this is going to put you in a Rec. 709 color space, which is going to limit your dynamic range, and it's not going to give you as much leeway. But it also means you can predetermine the look you want from a creative intent right up front and not have to worry about doing it in post. So the film simulations can also be modified in the camera. And this, again, is something that's very popular in the still photography world, where they do what are called recipes. So if I go into the IQ menu here, you will see options for tone curve, color, sharpness, noise reduction. So the tone curve option allows me to change the shadow and highlight response. I can make it steeper or softer. The color setting refers to saturation. So if you want to take one of our film simulations as a starting point and you actually want to bump up the color saturation, it's very easy. If you want to soften it, bring it down, again, it's very easy. Sharpness. Now, usually with video, people want to have this as little as possible or off. And so the 0 setting on here is off. But you can add sharpening, and it creates edge effects around areas of high contrast, which can actually contribute to a very, very unique look. So that is something that you might want to explore. Now, rest assured that if you do want to have log as a backup, you can choose to, for instance, record F-log internally to the CF Express card, and you can send the film simulation out over SDI HDMI, and you could put a third-party recorder on the back of the camera and record those film simulations as a backup file or in ProRes on a separate recorder. That will, of course, give you the higher data rates, and you're going to be using up more storage space more quickly. Those are my suggestions for quick turnaround, low-budget productions. Thank you for joining me.